The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Joseph Muscat, Prime Minister of the Republic of Malta. May I request protocol to escort His Excellency? I have great pleasure in welcoming the Prime Minister of Malta and invite him to address the General Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. President. We can describe today's world in many ways: interdependent, aware, and diverse. Yet it is also polluted, isolationist, and unequal. We have never been so closer together, yet further apart. We are living in an era where, whilst the individual is at the center of the decision-making process, the decisions that are being taken are not necessarily people-centered. Contradictory situations and outcomes are the order of the day. We cannot just accept all this as inevitable. We are fortunate enough to be living in an age where we are not only aware of the changes happening around us, but we are also part of them. We are duty-bound to ensure that these ongoing changes and transformations leave no one behind. Transformations need to be used to benefit our people and not to create divisions between the haves and the have-nots, those on the outside with those on the inside. Because economic prosperity does not mean social injustice. And being a patriot does not equate to isolate a nation. The future should be equal. It is our responsibility to show the value of all the peoples, irrespective of their age, race, sexual orientation, gender, creed, or ability. Diversity is an enriching factor of any society. Firm in this belief, our country has embarked on a journey of conviction to fight social marginalization and address the needs and rights of those who, for decades, were considered to be daughters and sons of a lesser God. From marriage equality to gender-neutral markers, the advancements made by Malta in the field of LGBTIQ community are described by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights as the global gold standard. It is a privilege and a responsibility to be seen as a world leader on such an important matter. With a rating of 94% in the ILGA Rainbow Map, Malta is now consistently the leading European country in protecting people's rights in the area of equality and non-discrimination, hate crime and hate speech, legal gender recognition and bodily integrity, civil society space and asylum. All this was achieved in just a few years thanks to a strong bond between government and civil society. Our experience has taught us that empowering citizens and ensuring that they have a voice in addressing and resolving issues that concern them and impact their life is an important part of our success as a country. And yet, in spite of our success, there is still a long way to go. And our ambition is clear: not only to provide the necessary legal platform, but to contest social norms and abet stigma and discrimination. Legislation alone does not guarantee social change. We are working strong and fast on this aspect, and our efforts are starting to bear fruit. The latest Eurobarometer survey on LGBTIQ equality ranked Malta first in acceptance of gender identity recognition. It also showed positive results in social acceptance of LGBTIQ people and the need for inclusive educational curricula in schools. On the other hand, we know that we need to do a lot more to ensure that certain issues have a more holistic approach, such as family acceptance. Autonomy and empowerment are values that our legislation and practice seek to mainstream, while ensuring appropriate support to persons who could find themselves in more vulnerable situations. This is why we have also enacted cutting-edge legislation in the field of gender identity, gender expression, and sex characteristics, and why we are currently working further to UN recommendations on other areas. And ladies and gentlemen, the future is female. For we need to understand that we cannot succeed when approximately half of our global population is being held back. Women have for centuries played an important role in society, both in communities and for the past decades in the places of work. Yet, this role has been underestimated, under-acknowledged, and at times even unrecognized. I firmly believe that the strong worldwide momentum pushing for women's rights should inspire leaders to review the pace of progress and ensure that governments commit to achieving gender equality in our lifetime. On a national level, Malta has been promoting numerous initiatives which underscore the country's commitment to gender equality and the promotion of equal opportunities for all. We replaced our passive benefit system with its underlying poverty trap into an active system that puts people back into work. We were not willing to continue to accept a situation where we allowed thousands of lives to be spent in situations of unnecessary inactivity, where families and individuals, mostly women, were trapped into a life on the edge, scraping through and marginalized on the edges of our society. This is why we introduced the tapering of social benefits, so that when someone finds a job, they lose their benefits only after a period of years and not immediately. Liberated from excessive tax burden, those on social benefits, mostly women once again, responded. And the number of those on social assistance in our country has halved in the last 3 years. On the other hand, until a few years ago, working parents, mostly mothers, faced staggering childcare costs if they opted to go out to work. Their wages ended up financing childcare costs. So in Malta, we introduced universal free childcare for all working parents. The result was essentially a silent social revolution. The female employment rate increased from 52% to 63.4%. And yet this is not enough. We firmly believe that gender balance in politics would benefit not only women and female politicians, but also parties and society. Our record as a country in female representation, where political decisions are taken, is meager, to say the least. In this regard, and aware of the persistent underrepresentation of women in our parliament, we launched a reform proposing affirmative action that can help us bridge the gap. An individual's contribution to society and the relevance of one's thoughts and capabilities should not be affected by gender. We have come to terms that social advancement has always been equated with empowerment, and therefore discrimination ultimately affects a nation's resilience and standing. When I think about the future, my mind instantly goes to my daughters. Considering that this year marks the 30th anniversary of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, we should not be reflecting on the milestones achieved in the implementation. But more importantly, we should be seeing that the areas that need to be addressed, such as including children's perspectives in all policies and decisions, are actually being made. Malta is currently working towards fully incorporating the Convention into our legislation to enhance the full realization of children's rights, making them portable and fully accessible. Good health, well-being, and quality inclusive education are fundamental human rights and are indispensable for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and the realization of what we all agree upon. In this vein, all children, girls and boys, should have access to good quality health, good quality education to ensure their well-being. Our objective is to equip all children with the appropriate environment and tools that allow for the acquisition by all of the necessary skills and talents for citizenship and employability in the 21st century and beyond. Our commitment is to provide an education where our children develop their personal and social potential to the fullest and acquire the appropriate knowledge, competences, and attitudes through a value-oriented formation, including equity, social justice, diversity, and inclusivity. Such inclusion will result from ensuring that educational environment is accessible in every manner. While striving to implement a mainstream approach to education, including through the release of a national inclusion policy, Malta also recognizes the importance of working towards equality of outcomes for all. In this regard, we believe that this approach should be complemented by individualized and tailored supports, for example, for children with disabilities, to ensure, in the spirit of the SDGs, that no child is left behind. Our commitment should be to continue providing the best to our peoples for a better quality of life and a brighter future. Sustainable development is all about current and future generations, and not just about specific economic sectors or social strata. A generation implies that we are all involved, and hence we are all expected to contribute to define our own future and to leave a better world for the future generations, a future that we hope is equal. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the Prime Minister of the Republic of Malta for the statement just made, and I request the protocol to escort His Excellency.